Hi everyone, welcome to my programming principle presentation. My name is Teng, and today I will be presenting my programming project, a Mastermind computer game. So what is this game about? Mastermind is a code-breaking game which players have to break the codes generated by the computer in order to win the game. In this game, the player will act as a code breaker, whereas the computer will act as a code maker. Once the code breaker guesses all the correct code in the correct order, code breaker wins. However, if the code breaker fails to guess the code within given attempts, code breaker loses. Now I will be demonstrating my program, and we will now move to the Python shell. Once we enter the game, we will see the introduction page of the game first. Players will be given two options to choose, which is enter 1 to view the game instructions if the players are still fresh to the game, or players can choose to enter 2 to start the game directly if they are familiar with the game. However, if players enter other numbers that are irrelevant, like 3, it will display error message and prompts the user to enter again. We will begin as a fresh player to the game and enter 1 to view the game instruction first. After we enter 1, the instruction page will be displayed to the user. After the player is finished reading the instruction, the program will ask player to press enter to continue, and the shape list will be displayed again to the player for convenience purpose, and pre-game message will also be displayed. Next, user will be asked to press enter again to start the game. So the game will be start now. For presentation purpose, I will be displaying the secret code in advance. The secret code will only be displayed in this presentation video, and in the real program, it will be hidden to the players. First, I will be showing the error checking part for the user input. If the user input are not 4 initials, like XCROT, it will show error message and prompts the user to enter only 4 code. Besides, if the user input is not matched with the given shape list, like MNBV, error message will also be printed and prompts the user to only select the shapes from the shape list above. For additional information, players are able to enter the code either in lower or uppercase letter, for example, RRRR or TTTT, or even a mix with lower and uppercase letters like RRTT. It will all be transformed into uppercase letters by the program. Moreover, players will receive feedbacks from the program, which is the attempt count, correct shape in correct place, and correct shape in wrong place after every attempt. Once players have done 8 attempts and still unable to get the correct answers, players will be considered as lose. Loser message and the correct secret code will be displayed to the user. Then, at the end of the game, players will be asked whether they want to play another round again by telling the user to enter Y or N. If the players enter Y, it will restart the game. So what if the players wins the game within given attempts? Now we are already familiar with the game, so we will just start the game by pressing 2. So for example, if the player successfully gets the correct secret code, which is ROSS, winner message will be displayed to the player, and the program will also show how many attempts does the player to guess the correct secret code. At the end of the program, if the players enter N, it will display a goodbye message to the player and program ends. Now I will be presenting the programming techniques that I've implemented in this project. First is the input and display of data. I've divided the input and display of data into 4 sections, which is the main menu, instructions, display and input, the shape input, response display, as well as the restart input. All this input and display of data is being implemented by using the input and print function. The following technique is the list. Lists are often used to store multiple items in a single variable. The list that I've used in my project could be divided into 2 categories, which is a shape list to store the full-length shape name, and 2 empty lists, which is guest input and guest response to check player's input and store the randomized shape. Next is the random choice from the list. In the project, I've used the Python random library to randomly generate the shapes that are stored in the list. Let's move on to if statement, relational, and logical operators. If statement, relational, and logical operators are fundamental in decision-making process. Many of these statements are being used in the program as shown in the pictures. Next, while loops and for loops are both being used in this project too. While loops is utilized to iterate across a block of code when the text expression is true. So here are some of the examples of while loops that I've used in my program, like while repeat intro equals to yes and while attempt is less or equal than 8. Moving on to for loops. Different from while loops, for loops are used for iterating over a sequence that is either a list, tuple, dictionary, set, or a string. In this project, I use for loop to check for the correctness of the shape as well as compare the user input code and computer-generated code. Besides, I have also used for loop for error checking as well. Next, moving on to user-defined function. User-defined function is functions that we define ourselves to do with certain specific tasks. User-defined function also allow us to divide tasks into modules to make the program more readable and easier to understand. So, there are a total of 7 user-defined functions that are being used throughout the project. The last part is the error handling and data validation. As we can see, error messages are being displayed in the intro user validation function as well as the ending part of the program, while invalid input is captured. That is all for my presentation. Thank you.